I was reminded how you can create an entire state where everyone is kept in line because somebody is telling you they're fighting a war on the front lines. You never see the war. You never hear about the war. You don't know anything about the war other than it exists. And you have to do things a certain way in country so that your country can protect itself from these evil people that want to take over and destroy your way of life. So everybody's under control from Big Brother.
George Orwell, the author of 1984, coined the phrase thought crime, which was and is any thought or belief that goes against a ruling party and its ideology. In other words, you don't have to have committed a crime. The mere fact that you thought about it makes it a crime. But that was a fictional novel. This is today.
60 Minutes found that 75% of the immigrants who were sent to El Salvador do not have public criminal records. Is that true?
Do you mean in our country?
The Venezuelan migrants who were sent to...
Okay, well, they're not Venezuelan migrants. They're illegal aliens from Venezuela who should not have been in our country, who are committing the most violent crimes. So if you committed a murder in our country, we're going to keep you here, and we're going to seek the death penalty, and we're going to keep you in prison because our victims' families deserve that. But we don't have to charge them with every crime. We can deport them and get them out of our country and save room in our prisons because they should have never been in our country to begin with.
So you confirm they didn't commit a crime, right?
So what Propaganda Barbie is saying is the deportation of people in our country to a foreign country's notorious third world prison is justified because they may commit a crime in the future. And that is life copying art, or more to the point, the kind of dystopian world run by billionaires and theocracies. Does that sound familiar?
President Trump and his border czar said that the mass deportation of migrants who are in this country illegally would begin with dangerous criminals.
But today, CBS News has obtained a list of people deported. Hundreds of alleged gang members sent this past week to El Salvador. But on that list was a Venezuelan migrant living and working in Dallas with no criminal record. His family tells Lilia Luciano they believe he is now being held among some of the most dangerous prisoners in the world, and they have no way to get in touch with him.
The pictures are striking. More than 200 Venezuelan deportees flown on U.S. government planes out of Harlingen, Texas last week and brought here, one of the world's most notorious prisons, El Secot in El Salvador. Heads shaven, arms shackled. The Trump administration says these men are all members of criminal gangs. We've learned at least one of the men believed to be deported here has no known criminal record. Franco Caraballo is a 26-year-old barber who was living with his wife in Dallas. He turned himself in at the southern border more than a year ago and requested asylum, and was detained last month during a routine check-in with ICE. His attorney, Martin Rosenow, showed us DHS documents confirming Caraballo has no criminal history.
So now they're saying on paper, he's believed to be a gang member.
With no known criminal history.
No criminal history and no explanation.
No explanation whatsoever.
Venezuelan authorities provided information that says there's no evidence Caraballo was in a gang or had any criminal record there. Rose now says Caraballo was deported to El Salvador and has not been able to communicate with him.
He had no suspicion, no clue that he could end up in a place like Secot.
We had no idea. Not him, not his wife, not anyone.
Whatever Trump's plan is, it's pretty easy to see what the ultimate goal is. Arrest people of color while white people commit acts of theft, violence, and even treason. Mike Flynn was a national security advisor while meeting with Russians and working for a Turkish dictator. And of course, Trump pardoned him. Steve Bannon stole money from a MAGA fund to build the border wall and was sentenced to prison. He refused a congressional subpoena, and Trump pardoned him too. Trump pardoned 1,500 people for attacking the Capitol, and those pardoned have gone on to commit acts of violence, robbery, and molesting children. But if your skin is brown and your driver's license expires, well, you go to an ICE detention facility.
Out of the immigration crackdown, South Florida lawmakers are demanding action after learning a University of Florida student was taken into ICE custody after a traffic stop.
Tonight, Felipe Zapata Velasquez sits inside the Chrome Detention Center after being taken into ICE custody last week.
It's a shame that on the night that UF is playing in the national championship, that one of their students are sitting in the Chrome Detention Center in Miami-Dade County.
The University of Florida student vanished after a traffic stop in Gainesville. Velasquez is from Colombia. His mother, Claudia, told a Colombian radio station, quote, "My son was a year from graduating. ICE is treating my son like a criminal, and he is not." Lawmakers continuing to sound the alarm on issues with how immigration is handled under the Trump administration.
And of course, there's this. This is Trump's head of Homeland Security, a completely deranged twit who murdered her dog when it growled at her while the whole world shook their head.
Dogs that have this kind of a problem, they are extremely dangerous, and a responsible owner does what they need to do and what the law will allow.
Not a lot of people I know of have gone out and executed their own dog.
Who was her editor? Michael Vick?
How utterly heartless do you have to be to shoot a 14-month-old dog in the face?
You can't just kill a dog because you're annoyed with it.
She grossly miscalculated and took her political chances to the gravel pit.
I love dogs, man. Don't shoot a dog, okay? It's really?
So Trump made her head of Homeland Security, which is like hiring Matt Gaetz to watch your teenage daughter.
Sex charges against me.
Here she is with border agents pretending like she's off on a mission to catch dangerous criminals.
Here we are with Marco and Brian today. They're letting me roll with them. We're going to go out and pick up somebody who I think is got charges of human trafficking. We earlier had an op that swept up somebody who was wanted for murder. So appreciate the good work that they do every day, and we appreciate them working to make America safe.
This is so typical Trump, rewarding women he finds attractive with positions for which they have absolutely zero qualifications, like Pam Bondi as Attorney General. Sure, she was Florida's Attorney General, which is like saying she was a cop at Mall of America. And for the record, when Trump broke the law in Florida by defrauding students at Trump University, Trump donated $25,000 to her campaign, and the charges were mysteriously dropped.
This is a landmark victory for the rule of law. And this is what we've been arguing on behalf of President Trump from day one. These are enemies of our state, of our country, and they should be deported. And what the judge ruled was going forward, from this day forward, all those planes that are gone are there. Those people are staying. So there are a lot of reasons why Americans are safer. From this point forward, the hearing will be held, it's a habeas hearing, in the court of confinement, which means in Texas. Yeah. So it will be a much faster hearing. They can't do class actions. It will be a much smoother, simpler hearing, and these people will be deported. Americans are safer, and domestic terrorists, foreign terrorists, you better look out because we're coming after you.
Okay, she's referring to the Supreme Court ruling that she says cleared the way for Trump to use a rarely invoked wartime powers law to deport alleged gang members for now. And while Barbie claims the ruling as a win, the justices did, however, mandate that deportees must be given a chance to challenge their removal. But Trump is ignoring them. But here's the crux of this story. There are 1 million white Europeans in the U.S. with overstayed visas. They're here without documentation, and they're white. And not one has been arrested by Trump's ICE. But does that surprise you?
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists.
And there have been studies over the last 150 years about immigrants and crime, and the numbers are remarkable. For example, native-born people in the United States commit 12 times the number of crimes than immigrants do because the vast majority of immigrants are here to work. Study after study confirms this.
Do immigrants commit more crime than people born in the U.S.? No. Here in 1870, immigrants have lower incarceration rates. Is this a study from the future? Yeah, it is. It'll be true then, too. A different paper from 2007 argued that immigrants commit fewer crimes because the process of migration selects individuals who aren't likely to commit crimes. And 10 years later, researchers looked at data from 200 cities. Our study found that immigrants are less likely to break the law than people born in the U.S. And as immigration goes up, property crime goes down. What about undocumented immigration? That doesn't increase violence either. So when politicians like this guy in the future say that immigration causes crime, research just doesn't back that up.
But none of this should surprise anyone. So the next time a MAGA wants to argue with you about illegals, remind them that Elon Musk is a South African who violated his student visa and is here illegally. What if we start sending white people who may have had criminal thoughts to an El Salvadoran prison? I know with Doge, money is kind of tight, but I'm pretty sure we can find a few Americans who'll pay for his ticket.
They're eating the dogs.
Are your leaders incompetent, unqualified people compromising national security?
Yes! 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 Terrorizing our communities?
Goddamn right. Elon!
They had what? Bloated and fat and disgusting.
I like that.
We're a nation that speaks English.
Back and look, if something like this, that thing start goggling.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes!
Tick-tock!
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.